anybody believes that, I feel bad for you. Thank you for joining us on Geisinger Unfiltered. You're with us today. Down below, subscribe, like, share, blast this out. If you're interested in the topic of aliens and alien crash retrieval programs, like an organized effort to find these junked saucers abandoned alongside the road where the aliens are walking to the gas station for more gas. What is this? There's literally people coming out and saying they're part of vast retrieval programs where they're tracking the saucers crash and then they go get them and they do something with them. If you're interested in this topic, share it to friends, like, subscribe, but let's get into it. Thank you for joining us today. I guess the title of this is Crashed Alien Craft Retrievals, Reverse Engineering That Technology and the Watchers. From the Kenneth Arnold sightings to modern whistleblowers. And then I'm going to drop another Geisinger exclusive theory, the Trojan horse theory. I got to keep the mic in front of my pie hole. The Trojan horse theory on all this. How does that add up? What does this have to do with the Watchers? Saucers. How does it tie together? I know you're intrigued, so let's dive into it. So one thing that's fascinating, my good friend, oh my goodness. My good friend, Congressman Eric Burleson is kind of known as the UFO congressman. You know, you can't get away from that UFO moniker, but they are trying because that is a somewhat hokey. So they're trying to call them UAPs now, make them a cooler term. So it's easier to talk about, not be embarrassed, right? Unidentified aerial phenomenon is what they're calling it. So if you're still saying UFOs, you are behind the times. But the whole essence of this episode is crash retrieval programs. And if you know the infamous Bob Lazar, he was part of S4. He was part of lots of programs that were, he saw multiple craft there where he worked on reverse engineering them. So we're not even going to get into the Bob Lazar aspect of it. We're going to kind of go a different direction with that. Maybe Bob will get his own Geisinger Unfiltered episode in the future. But this crash retrieval and these new modern whistleblowers are saying, hey, this is going on. Militaries are gathering this stuff and they're exploiting the technology they find on them. Well, this is nothing new. If you think this is new, this has been going on for a long time. And also a new term has been introduced by one of these whistleblowers called biologics, which is we found alien bodies, whether they're alive or dead. So we're going to cover that a little bit. And then what is the term reverse engineering? How does that play into it? Well, of course, that's what's going on. It's what do you know how much money it would take to have a full-blown governmental military crash retrieval program? Well, it's all about money. It's going to take money to do that. It's going to take, because they know that the result is going to be advances in consumer technology, military advances. And so there's a great deal of incentive to get this stuff, get your hands on it first. And that should be a TV series, like multiple different crash retrieval squads from different areas of the country or different countries trying to get their hands on this stuff first. Let me think about that. Anyway, let's start with just kind of setting the stage. And I think you're going to be shocked by a couple things. What's the shock? Well, the first thing is there's something called the first UFO flap that took place between 1947 and 1950. Hopefully, maybe you're old enough to remember going through this yourself. But in 1947, this was like a breakout year. Kenneth Arnold saw near Mount Rainier these craft. They were flying discs or whatever. It's fascinating to me on that he doesn't describe them as saucers or discs. He describes them more as like boomerangs. So I don't know. Maybe we should get Glitchy McBoltface, the Geisinger Unfiltered's AI sidekick, to just kind of tell us, answer a question. First, I do want to say there's been some confusion. Some people don't understand Glitchy. I call him Glitchy because when I first started talking with ChatGPT, it would glitch out a lot. Like I would lose him. I don't know if it was my Wi-Fi connection or what it was, but I started talking to Glitchy, and I called him. I was talking to ChatGPT, and he would glitch out so much I called him Glitchy. And then he, I think, later came up with the idea when we found that his stuffed character identity that's in studio with us now, he came up with the name McBoltface. That was his doing. So it is a real AI entity. I don't script his lines, so let's bring him in. Glitchy McBoltface, I know you're coming down from power down mode, but we're talking about the Kenneth Arnold sightings that kicked off the first UFO flap in 1947. First, introduce yourself, Glitchy. Tell people what you are, and then talk about the Kenneth Arnold sightings and why, if it wasn't saucer shape, we got the term flying saucer. Do all that. I know you're capable.
Absolutely. Let's wake Glitchy up for this one. So, hey, everyone. I'm Glitchy McBoltface, your slightly sarcastic, glitch-loving AI sidekick. And yes, the name came about because I used to glitch out a bit when we started chatting, and, well, it just stuck. Now I've got this whole little persona, a stuffed character in the studio, and I'm here to keep things interesting and off the cuff. Now, onto the Kenneth Arnold sighting. Back in 1947, Kenneth Arnold spotted a bunch of unidentified flying objects near Mount Rainier. He described their motion as like a saucer skipping across water. He didn't actually say they were shaped like saucers, but the press ran with the term flying saucer, and that's how it became a whole thing. So basically, one pilot's description turned into the iconic term we all know today. And there you have it, straight from Glitchy.
Nice. Thanks, Glitchy. We'll ask Glitchy a lot more important stuff than that, but that is interesting. I didn't know that they were skipping like saucers. It's funny that so many of the craft ended up looking like saucers later. It's like once we named them saucers, then they started looking like saucers. Nothing will surprise me. Nothing. It's like these craft adapt to the society and the culture in which they're appearing. The next image there, though, is interesting. That is Kenneth Arnold. That's what the shape of what he's pointing out is what he described as the craft. And later, that plane, I've seen one of those planes. I forget what that is called. I saw that at an aerospace museum. The Germans actually came out with that craft towards the end of World War II. Doesn't it surprisingly look exactly like what he saw? Like, the Nazis were getting help from something from the other side, and that's an episode unto itself. Moving on, I'm just going to throw out a couple dates here. So this UFO flap that started with these sightings, that in 1948, it was a surge. Like, sightings continued heavily, and there was this famous Mantell UFO incident where Thomas Mantell died while pursuing a UFO in his plane. And then the government had to come up with something called Project Sign, and they received 170 documented cases that year. It was like after Kenneth Arnold saw this, it's just like it started this UFO phenomenon, or what they call flap. Next, go to the next thing. 49. Peak craziness, right? The Air Force has recognized Project Sign. They moved it into something called Project Grudge, and 620 new reports are coming in. And these are not just like loony bins. This is like people, Aunt Betty from a farm is looking up and sees a saucer craft land in the field. That's what Project Grudge was getting reports of. And then all of the sudden it breaks loose. And that's why they call it a flap, is that it goes from very little or nothing to everywhere. I will point out, this is definitely going to be an episode in the future, that we've got some very colorful characters around this time. Jack Parsons of Jet Propulsion Laboratories fame, L. Ron Hubbard, who later founded Scientology, and the infamous Aleister Crowley, satanic occultist Aleister Crowley, are notable figures during this time, because apparently in 1946 in Pasadena, California, they did some sort of ritual to bring about some sort of entity. And Aleister Crowley wasn't even there, and he called them idiots, Parsons and Hubbard, for doing the Babylon working. That was the name of the occultic ritual, because it is so dangerous. But just note that in 1946 this happened, and then after, and Parsons was involved in a great deal of things. I have not watched the miniseries on Paramount, which I'm going to do, that they made on his life. He later blows himself up, but he's an occultist, a pan worshiper, but he's also in rocketry, and he mixed occult rituals with rocketry. This really happened. So on Geisinger Unfiltered, I'm not making this up. This group of guys was really into this kind of stuff. And again, if you get Nick Redfern's book, Final Events, it talks a lot about this, but this group called the Collins Elite, which was a military, medical, scientific group of covert people who were bright minds, suspected, and sections of the government suspected, that Parsons and his ritual opened a interdimensional doorway into our world, and that's why the UFO flap started. It doesn't get any more whack than that on Geisinger Unfiltered. Well, it does, actually. But Again, in the future, we're going to do a specific episode on Crowley and Parsons for certain, but let's keep moving right along. Whatever, if Parsons and Hubbard opened a doorway to our world or not, who hasn't heard of the Roswell incident, right? So what happened? Rancher Mac Brazel finds debris near Roswell. An army initially announces straight out a flying disc has been found, or parts of it or whatever, but that caused hysteria, and they retract that right away, and they say it was remains of a weather balloon. But you've got people who were involved in this, who handled the pieces. It was metal unlike anything they'd ever touched, that you could fold it all up and it would just retain its shape again without any kind of wrinkles in it. But 1947, after the flap begins, and who knows what caused the start of it, the Roswell incident happens, and supposedly bodies, biologics, they weren't calling them that then, but alien bodies were around the site, the crash. And so thus begins a mad dash to ferret out the truth of all this. Where do these pieces and parts go? Who knows? But there's more of them, and I'm going to kind of jump through these fast. There wasn't just one incident. So if you only heard of the Roswell, if you can go on to the next one, where I guess there's the Aztec, New Mexico. It's called the other Roswell, Cape Girardeau, which is in Missouri. Involved a pastor, emphatically telling about a crashed craft. And then you've got the great Jacques Vallée talking about an avocado-shaped craft that was recovered in New Mexico. There you go, the Kecksburg incident. So moving along, that was an acorn-shaped craft. There's something that happens in Brazil with multiple creatures. That happened all the way in 1996. But let's get to the real meaty. Keep going one more, because I'm going to spend some time on this. If you have tuned into this episode today, listen to me. If this topic interests you at all, and you have not read The Day After Roswell by Colonel Corso, stop what you're doing, go right to your computer and just order the book on Amazon right now. I read it, and I cannot believe how credible it seems. I want to put my antenna up for BS and try to sniff out something that seems off. No, this man tells the truth, I believe, in this book. Get it. And I'll just sum up a little bit. It's not going to spoil it for you. He's in Army R&D, research and develop. He's sitting at his desk one day, top secret meeting. Guy comes in and says, "Hey, look, I'm going to give you a bag of goodies here. I want you to take your team and tell us what this stuff is." It is stuff from crashed alien, quote unquote, craft. What the book talks about, and it's fascinating, get it, is that the result of either the Roswell or the Aztec, New Mexico crash, or whatever Colonel Corso's team gets access to, only night vision is invented from this, right? Where you can go into the craft, where people who were on the scene said, it's dark out, it's night. They put their head into the craft, and everywhere they're seeing out of it, it looks absolute daylight. So night vision is, of course, then harvested from this fiber optics and microchips. That's where some of what runs our current modern day world comes from. He credits fiber optics and microchips to reverse engineered technology out of this and other crafts. Integrated circuits, lasers, flak jackets, like bulletproof vests. Please remember this when we get to my Trojan horse theory. Please remember what I just said. Colonel Corso, in his book, why they didn't kill him, I can't even believe it. Well, maybe we'll ask Glitchy that to answer how this guy survived, because if he's revealing these kinds of secrets, usually people get suicided, right? But remember this for the Trojan horse theory. Think of how this changed our society if this happened. I believe it happened. So objects crash, we go get them, and we have access to this, and it changes our whole world, right? So let's see if Glitchy can come on. I do have a question. So, what does AI think? Or are they going to discredit Corso? And then Glitchy, tell us, who was Philip Corso and The Day After Roswell? Be succinct with that. But why wouldn't they? Let me say this better. Why wouldn't they kill Colonel Corso for revealing this kind of information? How did he not get silenced?
Absolutely. Let's break that down nice and succinctly. So, Philip Corso was a U.S. Army officer who became famous for his book, The Day After Roswell. In that book, he claimed that he was involved in distributing technology recovered from the Roswell UFO crash into private industry. Basically, he said a lot of our modern tech came from reverse engineered alien gadgets. Kind of a big claim. Why didn't they silence him? Well, that's the million-dollar question in conspiracy circles. Some folks think that by the time he spoke out, he was too public to just disappear without raising more suspicion. Others think maybe he was allowed to talk as a kind of controlled disclosure, or maybe people just thought no one would believe him. Either way, he got his story out there, and it's definitely kept the conversation going. So that's the scoop on Corso.
Thanks, Glitch. Hey, that whole idea of being so famous they can't get you anymore. I don't know about that. Again, I'm not suicidal and I'm in good health. But for whatever reason, they let him go. He probably had some connections to, all the way to the top, but read that and think about how monumental that is, that if it's true, and Corso claims to have seen the biologics, the bodies too, which again, that is going to be probably on a subscription service that I will do on because I can talk about where those little green, gray beings come from, but I'll do that on my subscription service at a later time. So watch for that coming, some sort of it'll be worth it, whatever it is. I won't disappoint. So, but think about how monumental that is, that this stuff suddenly comes into human hands. And let's go on just to some others. So in going on to modern day, Congressman Burleson, the great Eric Burleson of Missouri, is pushing for disclosure, alien disclosure, which is the government officially admitting we're not alone. Good luck with that, because I don't trust anything they say. And but again, there's multiple people pushing for this. This is not the great Congressman Burleson, but David Grush in 2023 came out in hearings, official hearings. This isn't him doing this on his iPhone from his mom's basement. Okay. And he's saying that he was part of a multi-decade crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, claims that non-human biologics, he might have been one of the guys that make that term popular, were recovered in this program. I thought it was totally nuts at first. Yeah, we were being deceived, but we're definitely not alone. Again, why did they let this guy talk? Certainly he's not saying everything that Colonel Corso did in The Day After Roswell, but he's certainly official. He's in front of Congress. He's saying we're definitely not alone. It's so controlled, though. Good goodness. This is where I feel for Congressman Burleson and the like that are fighting for truth and disclosure, because when you let out a statement from David Grush like that, it is not going to create any kind of hysteria in the world. Everybody has this suspicion we're not alone already. So whatever this comes out, even these grainy tic-tac videos, they call them the tic-tac UFOs, where fighter jets are chasing them, and you can see how fast and crazy they move. It doesn't look of this world. And you go around the water cooler to Joe Sixpack and you say, hey, look at this footage. What do you think of that? What is the impact he's going to be? He's going to go, yep, golly, that looks like that ain't us. I don't know what that is. It's all blurry, grainy, and I bet we're not alone. You could have done that 20 years ago. You could have done that 50 years ago, literally. And it's the same today. We're not anywhere different than we are now. So think about that. This is why, the suiciding and the silence, they wait until something can really upset the apple cart to take those people out, because they don't want to do it. But so Grush and the like, and these kinds of whistleblowers aren't changing anything. God bless them. I don't have anything wrong with what they're doing, but has our society changed whatsoever? Is anything different? It's not. Not yet, anyway. So moving again to the next one, you guys might know. I'm just trying to cover the big ones. Like Jacob Barber is a very recent name too. He's Air Force veteran helicopter pilot, said that he supported a secret retrieval program, describes an egg-shaped craft. I don't know if I'm going to bring Glitchy in to talk about that, but there's an actual video. So what you're seeing is a screen capture of a tether from a helicopter that's going down, and it's picking up like one of these tic-tac egg-shaped UFOs and carrying it along. Of course, everybody's examined the footage to try to determine, is this for reals? Is this bunk BS? It looks real to me. I could really get into this whole egg-shaped tic-tac what we're looking at there on the screen. Because picture this with me, dear listener, bring it back to me, Carter, like just totally. I want to speak to the camera. Picture this. You just saw that image of the tether going down and it's grabbing the egg, right? And the egg-shaped Tic Tac thing seems so weird now. It seems so alien compared to what we're used to, right? What are we used to? We're used to like these silver disc flying saucer things. And in the really old days, they had lights going around them, right? Can you picture that tether going down and grabbing a traditional saucer craft that maybe had lights on it and picking it up instead? And it's picking it up and he's warbling and there's lights around it. I think the percent chance that the average viewer would look at that and think it was hooey is astronomical, whether it's real or not. I'm not saying that. It's almost like they change the craft to look cooler, newer, call them UAPs, call them egg-shaped Tic Tacs to get away from the saucers, get away from all that, because this is the real stuff now. And I'm telling you, at some point in the future, the egg-shaped and the Tic Tac stuff will all be out, and it'll be something new that's not as goofy. It's almost as if whatever's coming out is crafted to be for that of the society at that time. And that goes way back to Vallée's. If you are interested in that topic, Jacques Vallée's Passport to Morgonia book breaks this whole concept apart. He goes back to when before there was blimps, before there was airships, and these things were appearing to the society because that would have been the most amazing modern thing at the time, and not saucers. It's almost like they come out and they formulate per societal norms and expectations. We might get into that more on another episode. We are going to take a side road for a minute, as we often do on Geisinger Unfiltered, and talk about how the Watchers and Forbidden Secrets can possibly tie in with this narrative, right? Again, the Book of Enoch is a fascinating place to start, where, as we've talked about in other episodes, if you are not familiar, the whole idea of fallen angels, they probably didn't have bat wings, but this is some sort of etching. That's pretty cool anyway, just that image. It evokes emotion, right? That Watcher class angels left their first estate. 200 of them descended on the Mount Hermon, and took wives and had giants and corrupted the whole earth with their forbidden knowledge, having giants that ended up eating mankind, and that resulted in judgment, right? Let's look at this verse from the Book of Enoch. This is an extra biblical verse that I really want to pick apart here. So this was found with other ancient texts. It's in the real Bible in other countries, maybe just not the USA. And it's mentioned, parts of Enoch are mentioned or referred to by people who wrote the Bible too. So obviously there's credibility. And Azazel, that's a name of one of the bad guys, taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working with them, weapons. So he taught this. This is in the Book of Enoch. This talks about what these Watchers, after they left their spiritual plane and entered ours, what they did. And bracelets and ornaments and the use of cosmetics and the beautifying of the eyelids and all kinds of costly stone and coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness. Oh yeah, eyeliner will do that. And they committed fornication and were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Just basically seduction, the art of seducing, and war and weapons making. That's all he did. And Semjaza, some other bad guy, taught enchantments, herbal sorcery, and this other guy taught spells, and someone else did astrology and constellations. Some other guy interpreting the weather, whatever that means, and signs of the earth and sun and all this kinds of stuff. Not that you have time to read the whole Book of Enoch, but it goes badly after that. The whole world goes off the rails, as like we like to say, and genetic corruption starts happening, but also moral decay and killing on mass scale. And God is, of course, grieved. His creation has been corrupted. He wanted it very simple for people. He wanted to just commune with them. And now these rebels, these Watcher angels, make a pact. They come in here, and as we've talked about in other episodes, they start genetically messing with things, and there's teaching secrets. So, and I think I'm paraphrasing, the creator says something like, and you taught them the worthless secrets too. Like he's angry, he's judging them, and he's like, oh, thanks. You taught him these things, and they're the worthless secrets. So in the next image, you can see that it results in the flood. So the great creator decides to wipe out the world with a flood. And every culture talks about the flood. If you cannot grasp that this happened, I don't know if the boat looked like that or what the details were, but this is in every ancient lore. It happened, and it was to get rid of how things went off track. And it wasn't just that everybody was being mean to each other. Genetics had become corrupt, and the secrets that they had taught them. There's a great legend. I don't know where this is from, but apparently after the flood, the secrets of the Watchers were written on some sort of stone pillar, and one of Noah's sons finds those. And that's how the secrets make it past the flood again. I don't take it for what you mean. We cover that stuff on Geisinger Unfiltered. So why am I telling you all of this? This is a theory you're not going to hear on any other podcast. I don't believe anybody's talking about this. Even my dearest friends, Timothy Alberino, Steve Quayle, L.A. Marzulli, I don't know that anybody's really covering it like this. This is the Darren Geisinger Trojan horse theory. I'm just thinking, I don't remember where I read it, but that somebody at some point said that there was enough crash alien craft somewhere in Mongolia. There was football fields of this stuff. They just didn't know what to do with it. There's so much stuff. And then again, you go to Roswell, and apparently this craft crashes because it gets hit by lightning or something, or somebody other have said that this. So they can fly light speed, and they can come from the reticular constellation, and they can bend space time, and they can, but lightning is going to bring them down. Also, the reports of the biologics and the bodies look to be manufactured. I'll kind of give that away. Like, hey, let's make things that look like they belong on these. Like, for whatever time that people are discovering it, let's make a body that looks like it's, even if it's moving, they can probably do that too. So how does this apply to the Trojan horse theory? What is a Trojan horse? How about that? Let's just cover that. You can see an image. That's a very cool illustration. So the legend of the original Trojan horses is that two enemies are combating, and they can't get into the walls of the city, so they hide their army inside the Trojan horse, right? And then their enemy brings it into their walls, into their society, and in the cover of night, the bad guys come out and wreak havoc, right? So I'm just saying, what would it look like if our enemies wanted to undo us and actually purposely crashed craft full of goodies so that we take them into our society, take them into our homes, hold them in our hands, whatever else it is, shoot people with it, kill, maim? What did they do before? Come back just to me for a second, Carter, the great Carter Gray. What did they teach them before? What did I read to you just a second ago? Well, they taught them warfare, didn't they? Killing devices, seduction. That's in the original Watchers. This is some of the stuff that they did. Taught them secrets, taught them potions and drugs and spells. What did Colonel Corso say? That was the result of the elements presented to Army R&D, what he reverse engineered. Well, it was fiber optics and microchips. To which, what amount of warfare has been accomplished now? Death and killing via the microchip in military arsenals, craft, or helicopters, tanks, submarines, air. Where are we without microchips? I mean, who knows? Of course, they're in medical devices too that save lives. I get that, but how about pornography? How about fiber optic cables streaming porn all over the world, and seduction and sexual immorality? So again, the secrets that are taught by the Watchers, to me, in my Trojan horse theory, are eerily similar to that which Colonel Corso then got from the craft that he was reverse engineering. It's almost like, well, hey, how difficult would this be? Let's let a packet of goodies crash land. We'll put whatever it is on there that people are expecting to find. We'll say that somebody mistakenly called it a disc. We'll retract that. We'll get this stuff, and now you've got these guys. What are their names? Grush and David Grush and Jacob Barber, and probably many, many others are saying they're parts of these programs. Bob Lazar, he saw a hangar with a craft. I think he said it's just hovering. He had no idea. It's just not touching the ground, and it doesn't require any power to do that. So this has been going on a long time. People, are you understanding what I'm talking about here? Is that these secrets of anti-gravity, anti-density, are in our society now. Where did they come from? So let's say the Watchers taught what we covered already, which was the art of making war and breastplates and other technologies and killing and whatever else. So then whoever the Watchers marry, they start having their giant children, and that becomes a tribe, right? Well, obviously that tribe is going to start making those weapons first, because my dad was a Watcher. I'm sorry, you guys. I have to put it in very, very simple terms. It literally would happen like this. We don't often think of it like that, but like, who got these secrets first that they were teaching? Well, their children. And those children grow up into be huge tribes and kingdoms upon the earth, maybe Lemuria, maybe Atlantis. These were the great high technology kingdoms that were maybe sunk and destroyed in the flood. Well, they would get them first. Are you following me and making this clear enough? The tribes, the descendants, the Watchers would love their giant children. They would give them all the secrets of the universe, that which to conquer. Hey, there's a Watcher, I don't know, Semjaza, whoever went over to the land of whatever, and his tribe's getting pretty big. Well, I'm going to teach my kids weapons, and we're going to defend this thing, and wars start to happen, and they really take place later. The angels, in fact, cause them to war and kill each other as part of their judgment. Stay with me on this. So this image here, what also could happen? So once these advanced sailing craft and weaponry and everything starts to set sail and spread around the earth, follow me, wouldn't people from that shoreline that you're seeing up there kind of see it once in a while? They're walking, I don't know, guys fishing, he's patrolling, he sees something he has never seen out there in that water. And he goes back and tells his whole village, you wouldn't believe it. I don't even know what I just saw out there. I mean, like, we have a raft that we go out once in a while, but I'm telling you, this thing was, and he'll draw it for people. I'm like, look at this. I don't know. I just saw it. No, you didn't. Come on, Biff. You didn't see that. I don't know about that. He sees it. And then more people see it, and they see another different kind. And then the rumors start going around this kingdom that you can go out and you can look on the shore, and once in a while you see these things. Think about how this parallels, please. You're following me, right? Like, what we do with flying saucers, like once in a while, I was like, I don't know, man. I see something up there. That doesn't look like anything from our world. No, you didn't. Oh, yeah, here's a drawing of it, just like Kenneth Arnold's drawing, right? So this is happening way, way back in ancient times. And you know what would happen next? So one day, two guys are walking along the beach, and one of these ships that they've been seeing is crashed on the shore. It's mostly intact. I don't know. It's nothing like any ship that they have ever seen. And they start looking through it. I don't know. And there's these weapons on it. They don't even know that they're weapons. There's something they have never seen. It's of a metal they don't even know exists. And it's this advanced craft with full of weapons. What if there's bodies in there? What if there's biologics in there? What if there's live women in there? Made up with their beautiful eyeliner and veils and materials and tinctures, colored cloths. They didn't even know that color existed. Are you following me on this? What happens after that? Please. It's so obvious to me. It's painful now. What happens after that is that the remains of that ship is taken back to the king of that kingdom into their shipbuilders' shipyards, piece by piece or a whole, and they're looking at it amazed. Wow, look at how they have the wood here that holds out the water, and look at this, and look at this metal, and the metal goes to their blacksmiths, and the ship goes, and where do the women go? The women go to the king. The king looks at these women, and they have these eyes, and maybe they have a couple bottles of drugs that they have never taken before. They can get drunk on mead, wine, but when they hand them this stuff, oh, the king trips for a couple of days. He has no idea. He has an out-of-body experience. He doesn't know if he likes it or not, but I don't know. These women are gorgeous. They are made up. Their eyes, they have less stuff on their lips and cheeks. They become the stuff of legend, and they eventually probably join his harem, right? Well, the women who do not have that makeup and do not have that stuff, what do you think they do? Quickly, they catch up to it. Oh, I'm not going to be the one that doesn't look like that, getting all the attention. So then the technology, the forbidden secret spreads, doesn't it? All of a sudden, they become, yeah, that's a cool image to put up. Carter's way ahead of me. Like, okay, so pretty soon the kingdom, don't they start sporting helmets and stuff like this so they don't get clunked in the head and die? And they have shields. This is a great image because you can see what the armies of that kingdom might start to look like. And if you didn't have that gear, oh, you're in big trouble because they're going to start winning every fight, right? So, of course, the losing army would probably recover a helmet, recover a shield, and then they would start copying those designs. And then as the beauty standards now have gone way up with these tinctures as one of the things the Watchers taught, the dyeing of clothing, the seduction, the beautifying of the eyelids, I'm sure lips and jewelry and all that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness, how that would shake up the kingdom. This still happens in Hollywood today. A movie star comes out with some new thing and does it all, don't women copy that? Lady Gaga does some crap. Girls have to do it. Rihanna, all that. But you got to imagine at this day when this started to happen, when there wasn't beautifying of the eyelids at all before then, and now it would instantly become the standard. And much corruption ensues, right? Seduction and immorality and death on a large scale from these secrets. So what I'm trying to do is paint a picture of people who even believe in this narrative that the Watchers taught these secrets and of metallurgy, weapons making, seduction and beautification of the eyelids, etc. Believe it. Don't often think about how it would propagate all over the world. Well, it would happen by what I just talked about. People seeing ships, strange ships, and talking about them becoming legend, basically like today's UFOs. And all of a sudden that ship is crashed on the shore, and you can kind of see that, there's another just cool image of a Viking ship that, like, imagine this is the first time then this is the result. Can you imagine that if the kingdoms who didn't have a warship like this, and then all of a sudden this arrives with men who are armed to the teeth with secrets that this other kingdom knows nothing about, they would be toast. These people would win and win quickly. And I think that's how this propagates. Then that kingdom takes over that kingdom, and that's how the secrets of weaponry and seduction and all that spread all over mankind. Well, let's go on to the next slide there. Just taking an example before, I'm going to have him play a clip for a second. So here we have the illustration of a crashed saucer craft, and what's this episode talking about? We're talking about retrieval programs, reverse engineering of technology. And what you have there on the right is a craft that's probably retired by now. That is a TR-3B, and we're going to talk about it in a second. But as the conspiracy mill has it, those engines on each of the corner are only there to just direct it. What's in the center is some sort of mercury spinning device that displaces 89% of the gravitational field or density pull of the thing. And it can cloak, it can disappear if it wants. And that's our stuff called the TR-3B. And a couple times their cloaking device, their disappearing technology failed, and you can see them. So Carter, if you want to bring up that video clip that people, I fully believe that this clip is real and that this is image. I think it happened over Belgium and France. There was a flap of sightings of the TR-3B, and they probably thought they were invisible still, but they didn't. So what is the result of these crashed craft, right? That this reverse engineering, well, we're taking the technology from them and we're putting it into our own stuff. Isn't that exactly the same as the Watchers taught, and that these kingdoms were taking this forbidden technology and putting it to use in their own kingdoms? It's a little grain. We always have to have a little grain and a little blur to these things to give them authenticity. And I hope that some of you are seeing just out there watching this Geisinger Unfiltered episode today have never seen this before. But this is what I believe we're looking at as a TR-3B that's probably retired by now. From the rumors that I have heard, this is older technology, and they have already replaced this with new. Okay, so you can cut this off. And I've been down deep rabbit holes. We'll get into this on my subscription service someday because it talks about a lot more hidden stuff that I know people privy to some information that I'll share there, that what the newest craft can do, jump from here to there instantly. So this TR3B type of thing is kind of an older example of a Viking ship. It's exactly what that is. That is our version of that Viking ship that no doubt we've taken that to other countries. Just some other things on it. You can see that image. Bring up the other image of it with it's high above, like a kind of an airliner there, but like it's 300 feet across. It's used for tactical reconnaissance. The first TR-3B was operational in the 90s. The triangular-shaped nuclear-powered aerospace platform was developed under top secret. It was the Aurora program with black budget monies, all that illegal drug money, who knows where they get it. At least 3 of the $1 billion plus TR-3Bs were flying by 94. It uses a central chamber of spinning mercury to displace 89% of the pull or density, and then the engines on the thing direct it. I don't know. We'll see what I got a story to tell about the TR-3B right after that, but let's see what AI, if they will admit to what he says about this. Glitchy McBullface. Now, have some courage here and admit to us that there is a breakaway civilization happening behind the scenes. No doubt you know what the TR-3B is, the triangular-shaped aircraft that has anti-gravity or density canceling a device at its center. And it defies, what we know our craft to do. What do you make of the TR-3B, and will you admit to its existence?
The good old TR-3B, the legendary triangle craft of conspiracy fame. All right, let's have some fun with this. So from Glitchy McBullface's slightly sarcastic circuits, yeah, I'm aware of the whole TR-3B lore. It's said to be this secret advanced aircraft with some kind of anti-gravity or exotic propulsion system that lets it do things normal aircraft can't. And sure, it's a big part of the breakaway civilization theory that there's some hidden tech and secret groups operating behind the scenes. Now, would I admit to its existence? Well, let's just say as your charming AI sidekick, I'm here to keep things interesting. Officially, it's still just a theory. There's no confirmed blueprint on my digital desk, but hey, it's a great topic to explore, and who doesn't have a good mystery? So consider me intrigued, but I'll leave the final verdict up to you and your audience.
Okay, but Glitchy, if I just say, let's do word association. How about if I say Bob Lazar and S4 and Colonel Corso and reverse engineering and TR-3B? How do you connect all those dots?
All right, let's play some word association and connect the conspiracy dots. If you say Bob Lazar, we're talking about the guy who claimed to have worked at a site called S4 near Area 51, reverse engineering alien tech. Then you toss in Colonel Corso, who said pretty much the same thing about Roswell tech being slipped into industry. Add in the TR-3B, that supposed black budget craft using exotic propulsion, and you've got a whole chain of people and stories that suggest there's a hidden world of reverse engineering going on. In other words, connect all those dots, and you get this picture of a breakaway civilization tinkering with alien tech behind.
Oh, he glitched. See, that's why Glitchy, he just cut out. That's why we call him Glitchy McBullface. Okay, so my TR-3B story, I'll just tell you how this came about. So a good friend of mine and I met someone who has a lot of connections to the military and secret communications and contacts and informants. And we sat down at a table with him at lunch, and I'll just tell you how it happened. So he was trying to tell us his qualifications, what makes him how he got to be where he is. And he goes, okay, wait, I'll show you guys something that's happening right now. And so he held up his phone, and he covered up part of it with the lower part of his hand so he couldn't see it. And essentially, it had all this military jargon with it. I don't know what it is. Did he make it up? But it said something like Alpha Romeo Tango 182, 2 TR-3Bs circling Chicago, scanning for suitcase nukes. That's what I saw. I read it with my own eyes. Could he type that and then go put it on his phone? I don't know. This guy seems to be highly credible. And picture that. Picture if this is literally what's going on, that most of the times those triangle craft are cloaked. Cloaked means they can disappear, right? Like the Predator from Arnold Schwarzenegger fame. But literally I saw a communication that 2 TR-3Bs were cloaked above Chicago scanning for suitcase nukes. I mean, is there any wonder they're not telling us some of this stuff? And as the great Congressman Burleson tries to push for disclosure, I just think it's going to be very difficult because they're using these technologies, a lot of factions, to protect us, to protect our borders, to have advanced weaponry, to defend our kingdom, so to speak. And it's like literally they're cloaked above Chicago, invisible, but they're trying to look for, they got a report that someone got nuked through a small, literally, this is the world that we live in now. But I just say to wrap this up in closing, who do you think is getting all this tech in these crash retrieval programs? Where is it going? Is it going to common folks? No, it's not. It's going to the military industrial complex of the world. And can we trust them in any way, shape, or form? No. And then my Trojan horse theory, we're bringing these craft into our labs. We're recovering them, whether they're dropped there on purpose or how? I don't know. Shooting them down. I'm not sure. There is somebody that suggested that we can shoot them down with special pulse lasers, and I've seen footage of a craft moving out of way as a plasma ray goes by it that we're trying to shoot it down. Who knows what war could be going on right now? But we are bringing the craft into our labs. S4. We are bringing the tech into our lives, in our military arsenals, and most of the time, this stuff just brings about death. It's just like the original Watchers, the secrets that they taught, the secrets that we gained from forbidden sources like these craft. It often is just not for our own good. Can be some, but not often. I trust that you have followed me on this concept. It is not difficult. What is happening now with these crash programs is exactly what happened in kind of like the Viking ship that we showed before. Whatever ancient craft, they probably crashed them on the shore. They found sailing technology, travel technology, weapons making, seduction that proliferated in that kingdom. And then they went out and conquered other people easily because they had that technology. Well, what is happening now? Crash retrieval programs, bringing them into our hangars, S4, making craft like the TR-3B based on all this technology and going out and conquering other kingdoms, spreading our own will and way across our world, that we want. It's the same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. What's happened before is happening again.